Okay, so here's the rest of practice exam number 3. We're supposed to find the length of the unknown side, call it x. So when you have a right triangle, like you see this right angle right there, that tells us it's a 90-degree angle, a right triangle. Whenever you have a right triangle, you always use a squared plus b squared is c squared. The Pythagorean theorem it's called. I'm not going to quiz you on the name. How do you know which one's C? The important one is to get C. Which one's C? C, this is C because it's across from the right angle. See how this side hits the right angle and the x, the 4 and the x hit the right angle. So they're not the hypotenuse, but this side over here is called the hypotenuse. It's C, it's the longest side. It's the side across from the right angle, not touching the right angle. It's the only side that doesn't touch the right angle. So he's got to be the C. He's the longest one, right? The other two add up to be him, the longest one. The other two are 4 squared plus x squared. So there's our equation. That's 16. 4 squared is 16. 12 squared is 144. Bring it down here. 16 squared plus x squared is 144. To solve for x, you got to subtract the 16 from both sides. X squared is, I don't know, let me grab my calculator, find out what that number is. That number is 128. And then you root both sides. To turn that into regular x, you root it. And so, what is that? The square root of 128. So we got to break down the 128. That's 2 times 64, 8 times 8. Each of those is 2 times 4. 2 times 4, and each of those 4s is 2. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2's. So that's the square root of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2's. All right, and so what do square roots do? 2 for 1, right? Because there's nothing in the hook here, which means 2. 2 for 1 deal. So 2 2's in, sends a 2 out. 2 2's in, sends a 2 out. They multiply when they come out, just like they were multiplying on the inside. That's 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. What's left on the inside? A root 2. 8 root 2 is the length of that other side. Right, number 23, we're supposed to write using I notation. So when the negative is inside, remember what that does? That kicks out an I to the outside. So it becomes I, imaginary, square root of 112. And then that's all we do with the negative inside. It's no big deal, just kick an I outside and then just do the regular stuff. What do I mean by regular stuff? Break it down. 2, I know it ends with a 2, so 2 goes in. Is that going to be 25, 6, 50 and 56? And then that is 7 times 8, and 8 is 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2, so 2, 2, 2, 7, 2. So this is I, square root of how many 2's? 4 2's, and a 7. And then, you know the deal, it's a 2 for 1, right? So 2 2's in, sends a 2 out, 2 2's in, sends 2 out. They multiply on the outside. So it's here, I'll bring it over here. 2 times 2 is 4i. What's left on the inside? Just the 7. So 4i root 7 on number 23. Okay, number 24, we're supposed to multiply. Here we go. 2 times 7, 14. 2 times I. 2 is done. Now the 9i goes to both. 7 times 9, 63i. And 9i times I, 9i squared. Okay, so what is that? That's 14. These are like terms. Plus 65i. Plus now I squared. Remember, we never leave I squared. We never leave I squared. But replace it with negative 1, right? We leave I, we leave regular I, but I squared we never leave. We replace that with negative 1. So what do we get then? 14 plus 65i minus 9, right? 9 times negative 1 is minus 9. And then we can go 14 minus 9. What is that? 5 plus 65i. There we go for number 24. Okay, number 25. What do we do when we have an I on the bottom? So we have an I on the bottom. Let me write a note over here. When I in the denominator multiply, we do the conjugate. We do conjugate. It's called multiply top and bottom by same as denominator, opposite sign in the middle. That's called the conjugate. I kind of muffed that up over there. So it's just like when we have square roots, right? Whenever we have a square root, when you have an I, well, really, I should be more clear about this. I and plus or minus in the denom. So when you have I with plus or minus in the denom, you use the conjugate. So when you have an I and a plus or minus in the denom, use the conjugate. So here we have, notice we have an I and a plus or minus. So we go, okay, conjugates, just like a square root. You have to multiply top and bottom by exactly the denominator, but opposite sign in the middle. Okay, and so let's do it. So this 9 goes boom, boom. And so we're going to get 18 minus 81i on the bottom. We're going to go boom, boom, so it's going to be 4 minus 18i. And then boom, boom, plus 18i, minus, now positive 9i times minus, the last multiplication, positive 9i times minus 9i is minus 81i squared. Okay, so what does that equal? 18 minus 81i on the top. These guys cancel. That's by design. That's why we use the opposite sign, because you have one minus 18i and one positive 18i. That's why we use, when they have plus, we use minus, because we'll get that to happen, and these guys will cancel out. And we'll get 4 minus 81. Now, I squared, remember what we always do with I squared? We always replace I squared with negative 1. So right there, right, that I squared will become negative 1. We never leave I squared. We leave regular i's, but we don't leave I squared. It's negative 1. Okay, so where does that give us? 8 here. Let me bring it over here. Okay, this gives us 18 minus 81i over 4 plus 81, right? Minus 81 times minus 1 is plus 81 equals 18 minus 81i over 85. And so now we just break that. They want it broken into two separate fractions, 18 over 85 minus 81 over 85i. There's the answer they want.